Hello YouTubers and all those who happen to watch. This is a shaky camera review of the most fantastic device I've seen for third-party controllers. And this, of course, is the AcsiiPad or the AcsiiWare gamepad, if you like to call it in different elements. Now, I recently acquired this on Savers. I went to the store and found an extra one of these, which I have one of these already. Having a spare one around the house would be fantastic nonetheless, due to the fact that I'll explain it quite soon, as well as provide some footage while using this controller, and we'll see if this will enhance my gameplay experience with a mystery game. But alright, as I mentioned before, I own two. Why do I own two now? Is because one was donated generously to me by Big Bad Daddy 11, which is one of the most badass guys on YouTube. I apologize again for the cursing, you get the point. You just have to use the word badass, it just sinks quite well. So alright, as you guys are quite aware, this is a third-party controller featuring some turbo buttons. What else is there to talk about, right? But the main question is, does it actually work, and does it physically have the same capabilities as a standard Super Nintendo controller? Now, we'll roll up our sleeves here and look at the comparisons with this controller next to the Arci. And again, there's really not too much comparisons. I mean, the Arci is much wider. It provides bigger bumper buttons, which are the left and right up here. They sound though probably that's not inside the controller, you guys get the point. Sounds extremely good. I mean, these controllers were built like they were made by Nintendo themselves, which was pretty awesome nonetheless. I mean, these are a secret cult style controller, because so much so, the devil himself comes out this controller and he taps you on the nose with his finger. He just goes boink, just points at your nose with his finger. But nonetheless, this controller also features many micros for your controller. It does not enhance the speed of your movements with your directional pad in the slightest, nor does it affect the select or the start. However, obviously with a lot of games out there, this controller is not supported with a few games out there. I can't name them on top of my head right now, but for now, we're going to see at the end of this video if this will enhance my performance with a certain game. So, alright. As you guys can see, they have a humongous, if not identical, comparison to the Super Famicom controller buttons, which have the color coordinated buttons, which are identical again to the Super Famicom entertainment system. Now you also notice right here it has a slow micro, which again, if you want to get the middle one, which is really no middle one there, if you're probably wondering, okay, is there a third option there? It isn't, it's just two indistinct modes, slow to super slow. It pretty much makes everything clippy. I haven't really seen much practical use for the slow bit on this controller, but it's just welcome nonetheless, I suppose. It's just being a functionality. As always, it has a really comfortable feel to it. Again, it's wider than normal than the Super Nintendo controller. A little bit of an extra, little bit of lesser weight, I would say, even though the wide size to it. I mean, these things are practically hollow, so again, you're not dealing with too much, resistance with this controller when it comes to you in the TV, because again, these cords are quite long as well. I believe they're identical, because I haven't fully measured these per se. I do know they have the same length just about as the normal Super Nintendo controller, which is always awesome to know that you're playing with a controller that would be long enough. Now, for some people who like to play halfway across the room and don't have bad eyesight as myself, it's always good to know that, at least you have converters out there to make these controllers longer, because long controller port is long. So, alright, as you guys can also see in conclusion, which product would you say would be the better one for you? Now, this is sort of a little miniature homework for you. Which one would you prefer? To have the turbo buttons or the standard controller? I mean, for me, instantly, sometimes I like going with the turbo buttons, because sometimes when I play a shooter game, rapidly press my finger down on the controller, it's fine if I'm really feeling up to it, but sometimes I want to be lazy and kicked back. I'd rather have the turbo activated for the activated function. Now again, I'm going to use the corded controller right now, which is all bundled up nicely. As you guys can see as well, it reflects off the action buttons or the command buttons, which is the X, Y, B, A. The left and right as well are activated as well. There's two modes for the turbo for each one. One is, somewhat turbo, and the other one is auto. So it also gives you a nice little miniature guide here. It gives you the common sense little no brainiac required mode, where it will be turbo, meaning you have to activate it manually, and you can rapidly jump, which will basically do you no good if you're trying to do that. As well as it does auto, well, it will just automatically correspond to what you activated. So if I want to activate mostly, the Y button is usually the fire button for most shooter games on the Super Nintendo, most of the shmups. I usually set it to auto most of the time. That's why if you see some of my controls with that, it means I was playing a shmup. If I'm just playing a normal game, I just plug this bad boy in usually, because usually some of the games aren't supported with it and it'll have a confliction problem with loading up the game and all that. Would this controller be useful for, say, fighter games? Not necessarily, no. It will not. Button when it comes to punching, it will not really. I haven't really seen no reflection of any improved performance with, fighter games. With shooter games, fantastic. With some side-scroller games, fantastic if you have, a long-range where you're shooting enemies from afar. It could be to your advantage. But again, this controller, I'd still say, is it worth it? Absolutely. I stand by this controller because after getting exposed by it by Mr. Big Bad Daddy 11, I'd have to honestly say this controller is fantastic. If you guys are into collecting accessories for your consoles, especially Super Nintendo, and you want to, dive into some sort of Japanese style atmosphere, this controller, sort of resembles, again, the Japanese culture, as well as it plays and performs really excellent. That's also because of the fact that this is actually from Japan. See it too well, but, Right now, for you, I'm going to play the mystery game, which is Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Now, everyone underneath the great sun knows this game is extremely challenging. For some people, it's easy as sin. For most people, it's hard. So, we're going to dive into this gameplay, and we're going to see how long I last, and see if this will improve or decline my throne of being the worst player on the Super Nintendo version of Ghouls and Ghosts.
Oh God, hello YouTubers. Ooh. Okay, so now we have the controller fastened into the console. Now we're gonna play some of this AsciiWare or AsciiPad goodness. So alright, so far we are getting into the intros. Everything works in good order. Everything's very responsive. Hitting start. Now, will this make my gameplay improve with this really challenging game? Let's find out. Okay, we're going to change this to turbo mode for the attack button. I can duck and move, but I cannot... Notice I got double the firepower. Boy, I am terrible at this game. Now I'm just letting the rapid button on the Y button go. So far I notice this game's a little bit more easier. I spoke too soon. And I got rocked. Slow times is bad times. Okay, I notice the slow, when you press slow down, it actually rapidly presses the start button. So apparently that has something to do. No. Ah. Very good weapon. Sadly, bad player. This is the pinnacle of challenging Japanese games. I notice a lot of these items or these move as quickly as possible because those flames will hurt. Oh no, I got the worst weapon in the game. Nah. This is one of the few drawbacks of this game too, is there's a lot of slow times, because if a lot of things go on at once, it will slow down. Because I am using the actual hardware, so... Three at a time, baby. But yeah, as you can see, I can really not... This is really not too much of an improvement. I noticed I got a better chance against certain enemies, but... my luck will only last for so long. It's all about players' reflexes, not about a gamepad. Not too bad, getting past that part. I mean, if you were hardcore in this game, this directional pad would probably be making this way too easy for you to play. I'm playing this on normal settings, mind you. This is not no uber hard mode. This is just straight up out of the box